All right, so many polls out there. We like to talk about polls a lot. We like to simplify things for you, though, get them all in one place, give you the most important polls you need. We call this poll positions.
Now, today we take a look at a handful of recent polls charting social, economic, and political issues.
According to Gallup, once taboo social subjects are now considered more acceptable here in the U.S. Out of 19 moral behaviors that Gallup recently measured, polygamy, cloning humans, and suicide have all moved towards an increase in acceptance. The behavior is still considered the least morally acceptable, cheating by married men and women. The polygamy is okay.
Yeah.
Not necessarily okay, but moving towards more acceptance, I don't get.
I don't get that. But anyway, another social issue that may sway voters at the ballot box, abortion. According to Gallup, 21% of people now say they'll only vote for a candidate with the same abortion views as themselves. That's really the highest percentage since early 2000. And those numbers are interesting because Gallup also reports that 50% of Americans now consider themselves to be pro-life. That's compared to 44% who identify as pro-life, the other one pro-choice. This is the first time since 2008 that more Americans identify with the pro-choice position. So things are changing.
I think this poll is most interesting, though, when you look at social conservatives in the GOP race, when they are talking about these social issues. And we saw that first poll there about how this is becoming increasingly more important as we start to hear these candidates moving away from the gay marriage issue. They don't want to talk about that as much. I would imagine we'll start hearing them talk more about right-to-life measures, especially the Ben Carsons, Ted Cruz's, Mike Huckabee's, the social conservatives.
I think they're going to have to, especially if they're looking for those swing voters. A lot of people, we talk to a lot of different people with different socioeconomic backgrounds, and a lot of people will say, well, I'm economically conservative, but I'm socially liberal. And we've had Republicans come on Newsmax and say, yeah, if we want to win, we have to stay away from some of these issues.
And that's always the difficult challenge when you look at the primary campaign versus the general election campaign. They have to touch on these issues to get the base out to vote for them. We have this crowded field now, and I want to go back, if we can, to the Des Moines Register poll, and taking specifically a look at Ben Carson, who is doing very well in that poll. He is one of these social conservatives who's talked about the right to life a lot, and he's polling very well with women specifically. You see Ben Carson in second place. And we also just heard from our two panelists there, Daniel Hockheiser and Mark Meckler, about how when you look at these very regionally based voters, like in this Iowa, or the Des Moines Register poll here in Iowa, Scott Walker might do well. He's in Wisconsin, very close by.
I mean, to me, really, Scott Walker, Wisconsin, he's going to do well in Iowa. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Not at all. I do think where Ben Carson is polling, considering that a lot of candidates, including I think it was Bobby Jindal, who said we don't need another president who requires on-the-job training, perhaps as a knock against maybe Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina, and others who don't have that political experience yet. To see Ben Carson polling so high, just 7 points behind Scott Walker at this point in the race, should send a signal that maybe the voters, at least in that particular poll, aren't too concerned about having a political novice, neophyte in the White House.
I think that's pretty normal in the beginning of any race, though. Remember Ross Perot? People loved him because he was a businessman with no political experience. It didn't get him that far. It will only get you so far. Not to say Dr. Carson can't do it, but things could drastically change, especially this early on.
Maybe folks just want to hear more from him.
Well, we were talking about the Patriot Act earlier. So from the Patriot Act to the NSA's bulk collection of data, we've already covered a lot of security topics this afternoon. But what about the security risk of using public Wi-Fi? That's the subject of today's Max to Life moment. Take a listen. Beware of free public Wi-Fi. The same features that make it so appealing also make it attractive to hackers. Lots of people logging on means that there's a good chance someone won't take the precautions needed to secure his or her device. Don't let that be you.
Public Wi-Fi is usually safe. There's always the chance that someone's going to be snooping on your network, and there's a lot of things that you can do to keep your device or your computer safe, such as a virtual private network or a secure HTTP connection. But those things, they're too complicated for the average user. So the most important thing you can do is make sure that you're on a trusted network. How do you know if it's trusted? Does it say Starbucks or AT&T or T-Mobile? Those networks, they typically have the software to keep the connection safe.
If you have to use a free hotspot, also be aware that hackers could have access to every piece of information you're sending out. That's including important emails, credit card information, and even security credentials to your business network. Instead of using public Wi-Fi, consider using your smartphone to set up a private hotspot or wait till you get to a secure location.
Great advice, Miranda. You can never be too safe. You hear about a lot of identity theft happening from people using public Wi-Fi hotspots. We've got much more to come here on Newsmax Now. We're going to be right back after a short commercial break. Take a look at your global headlines and much more right after this.